What's happening, guys? You already know who it is. It's your boy Avionics, back with another Ducati overview and test ride video. We're here once again at the Ducati dealership here in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Nevada, not Nevada.
Joining us once again is one of Ducati's finest, Cody Williams, and he's going to be telling us all about how the 2020 Diavel stands out from the rest of the crowd.
Hi guys, welcome back to Ducati Las Vegas. My name is Cody. Here we have a 2020 Diavel 1260 in the beautiful dark stealth. The first thing that you might notice is something that we'll get to a little bit later, but it does have an aftermarket exhaust system. That is going to be the performance exhaust by Termignoni. So we'll definitely cross that bridge. But here today, we're going to talk about a bike that's maybe a little bit different and maybe has received a little bit of a different side of attention from fellow Ducatistas and, just general people who are interested in Ducatis across the world. The Diavel kind of started as this new bike that was totally different from anything else that they've ever really created. It's different from their sport bikes. It's very different from their monsters, their hyper motards, even from the multistradas. They kind of wanted a bike that was not quite a cruiser, but as close to one as they could get. It was actually so much so that they went into a little bid of a debacle with some press around the world. When it first came out, it actually won Cruiser of the Year for 2 years in a row, which did not sit very well with Ducati. So much so that they actually said that it wasn't a cruiser so many times, and people kept calling it that they came out with a different bike that was more aimed at being a what they call techno cruiser. That's the X Diavel, which we might cover at a later date. But here today with the Diavel 1260, we just have this very large, muscular, overall comfortable, good feeling bike. And if you're familiar with, say, the Yamaha VMAX, you might feel a little bit of its DNA here in this bike as well. Just overall, good sized bike that's meant to be not just comfortable, but have plenty of power. The nice thing about that is the Diavel 1260, it's actually Ducati's currently fastest bike off the line, the 0 to 60 time of 2.5 seconds. Now, I don't quite know if that time is increased with the exhaust or decreased with the exhaust, so we'll have to check back in on that later, but I'm sure it would be a good number. Overall, we're going to kind of dig into what this bike has to offer a little bit. Just from a general glance, overall, it's going to be very different than what you would normally expect from Ducati. You've got this large, open, naked bike, while at the same time, the first thing that's going to draw your attention is the very large rear wheel. Powered by the Rosso 3, you're looking at a 240 by 45 by 17. It's a pretty large tire. Most of the time, when people see these kind of tires, they think, wow, that's a pretty sweet looking bike. The next thing that usually follows is, well, how's the handling? And I'll tell you firsthand, the handling on this bike is quite superior to that of its counterparts that have the same size rear tires, just due to the geometrical setup of the motorcycle itself. So overall, other than that, the next thing too is they give you your single-sided swing arm, which is really one of Ducati's key features that they try to incorporate on most of their bikes. It's kind of what they're known for. It's one of the more beautiful things in life when you really are sitting there enjoying a motorcycle. So in the previous iterations, they actually had their stock exhausts. It would sit about right here, and it would actually take away from that rear wheel. Well, in 2019, when they came out with the Diavel 1260, they decided to trim that back a little bit. And yes, we do have an aftermarket exhaust, but even with their stock exhaust that they're doing now, they've cut it just behind the tire, make it to where you can get that full view, that rear tire, single-sided swing arm, that large rear wheel. It's powering this beast. It's a 1262cc engine, L-twin, of course, one of Ducati's famous things. It's going to have the desmodromic variable timing, so what that basically means is you'll have the ability to variate the timing on the bike, which means the nice thing with them is that you get cruise control, which is something that if you are planning on taking this bike on longer trips, be able to just throw that on, nice and easy, not too complicated, and just enjoy the road, the scenery, wherever it is that the road and the bike might take you. So with that, the 1262 engine, you're looking at 159 horsepower, 95 foot-pounds, which is might not seem like a lot, might seem like a lot. I'm not sure, you tell me. It's going to be a little bit different from everyone. The first thing that you'll feel when you get on this bike is that it's very, very easy to ride. It's very responsive when you need it to be, but at the same time, it can also be docile. Of course, depending on what mode that you have it in is going to dictate exactly what the bike's response is going to be to what you do with the throttle actuation. I will say, personally, the first time I ever full throttled this bike was in first gear, and it doesn't happen often, but my stomach actually sank all the way down. I was blown away at the raw acceleration of this bike. And again, that doesn't necessarily happen all the time. I think it's a phenomenal bike, and yet at the same time, you sit very comfortably within the bike. gives you that upright posture while still giving you a mid-control for that sporty feel. And then of course, if you want to take it to a track day, you want to take it out to the canyons, it's still going to be able to give you everything that you'd be looking for performance-wise, as far as lean angle, braking, acceleration, anything and everything sport riding that you'd want to do. So here today, we're also going to go over the controls, what you have when you're actually looking at the user interface when you're sitting on the bike. So we're going to go ahead and look at these controls. So as at a standstill, at a glance, you're going to sit with your hands pretty wide, nice long wide bar, which is very, very nice. Over on the right hand side, you've got your kill switch, start switch, and then this little lock button right here. Which the nice thing about this lock button is as long as the key is in proximity, I've got it in the gas tank here just to make things easy. All you have to do is hold this lock button. Bike is going to power on as long as it's receiving the key information. It knows that the key is nearby. Boom, you're good to go. So starting with the screen, we're looking at all the information that's provided, and it's not, some people might think, you know, it's not the largest screen. And the reason why is sometimes less is more. It's going to give you all the basic functions that you're going to need to understand when you're actually riding the motorcycle, your RPMs, if your side stand is down, how fast you're going, what mode you're going to be riding in. It's going to go over the engine temperature as well as the gear position. Right next to that, you're also going to be looking at the fuel level. Now, looking over here on the left toggle switch, we're actually going to be able to cycle through several of these settings over here. It's going to go over your odometer, trip meters, the range that you have left. Of course, that's going to change on a rider-to-rider use based on the average consumption. Trip time, which is sometimes fun. You know, people want to understand how long they've actually been riding that day. Average speed, yeah, we need to pick that up. Average consumption. Active consumption, which of course, the bike being off and not moving, it's not going to display properly. Tempered air, 62 degrees. But overall, the next thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to show you how to get into your different menus here. So we're just going to press this in the middle of this left toggle switch. You can actually go through, set what modes that you want to have it in. So between the sport, high engine, traction control, ABS, and wheelie control, it's going to be the same on all of them. As you go down this little settings menu, the power is going to go down and the settings for safety are going to go up. And that's just meant to give the best feel and response based on, you know, what you're looking to do with the bike. Now, of course, at the same time, everything that is within those safeties is fully adjustable. You can fully go through and edit everything that you need to. By holding down that menu button again, you can actually go through, edit all of your settings, info mode, lap timer, set the pin code, which is really important. Owning one of these bikes that's got a key fob, sometimes those batteries die. In the event that the battery dies, you set your pin code, and then this little switch right here. Once the pin code is set, you can actually switch that over, use it, and you can still start your bike once you enter your pin code. Tire calibration is any time that you go to put a different tire on, or if you're doing, you know, maybe a rear brake change, you have to take the wheel off, you just want to relearn it to the bike, that way it syncs up all the electronics. Backlight is adjustable, so it does change colors based on if you're in the night or in the daytime. Of course, your standard settings as follows. Eight-way adjustable traction control, which is pretty standard across their bikes as long as it's got the Ducati safety pack on there. The three-way adjustable ABS, and on this bike specifically, the 8-way adjustable Ducati wheelie control. You might be thinking, does this bike really need wheelie control? Let me tell you, it absolutely freaking does. Overall, that would be, you know, your entire user interface. Again, sometimes less is more. They want to keep it simple so that you can focus on the things that are truly important, such as riding, what's coming up at you, so on and so forth. Overall, the rest of the buttons that we have over here on the left-hand switch, we're going to have the cruise control function, which is very, very simple. All you have to do is hit this little on button. You'll get the light on the dash, and then of course you can set it. Once the speed is set, you can then adjust going up or down with these two buttons right here. Got your hazards over here, nice and easy. And of course you've got your bright switch that you can use as a pass, or if you flick it out, it'll actually hold the brights into place. The nice thing too is with the turn signals, they are auto-canceling turn signals. They can go one of two ways, either through the gyroscopics of the bike when it senses that you've made a deep enough lean, or after a short period after making the turn, it's still going to register and then shut them off accordingly. Other than that, the other thing, of course, we've got a horn. You're going to have all the standard Ducati features. So you're going to have your hydraulic clutch, your hydraulic brakes, of course. Going to be Brembo master cylinders all the way across, Brembo calipers, Pirelli tires. Everything on the bike is still going to be your standard Ducati fit, feel, and finish. The last thing I wanted to talk about is actually the Ducati Power Launch, which we happen to have 3 different levels of usage for. If you find yourself out at the drag strip, this is totally a bike I could see most people taking out there just to see what it can really do, you'll want to really toy around with that Ducati Power Launch. I'm not going to necessarily go into exactly how it works or how it should function, just for liability reasons, of course. But essentially, there's 3 different levels which are going to control the 3 levels of intervention when you're trying to launch the bike. Best of luck. Be safe out there when you're doing that. All right, so the next thing I'm going to show you guys is this neat little trick. Grab the key right here, and I bring it right back in under here. We're going to pull the seat off. Nice and easy. What this is going to allow us to do is, of course, you got your toolkit down there, which is not what we're going for today. But what I'm actually going to show you is for those riders that definitely want to have a passenger on there. Ducati's definitely thought about that. They've given you a small passenger grab handle for the back. It's very easy to get that out and available for the rider's use. So say the passenger is sitting on there, they would just put their hands on the back there, which is going to take their weight off of the rider so that the rider, of course, can focus on the road. Now, this is optional to use. There are plenty of different attachments, such as a small backrest that you could always use as well. In lieu of this, this is just what comes stock with the bike. The other thing that we're going to talk about here is the exhaust. Now, we went ahead as a shop and we put the custom Termini performance exhaust on the motorcycle. There's a couple different reasons for that. We wanted to really showcase this bike with an exhaust because honestly, this bike sounds pretty freaking sweet with the exhaust on it. What you're going to be gaining versus what you're going to be losing with this exhaust. What you're going to be losing, roughly about 10 pounds when you remove the catalytic converter, which puts this exhaust on. What you're going to be gaining is about 10 horsepower, 10 foot-pounds of torque, which is going to go from 159 and 95 to 169 and 105. Now, definitely not rookie numbers by any means. Those are some pretty sweet numbers. Those are some also really fun numbers, so keep that in mind. The other thing that you're going to be gaining is your bike is going to sound absolutely freaking awesome. I'm going to go ahead and start it just to go ahead and showcase that. So right off the bat, it's going to be a very deep, deep rumble. It's just a truly magnificent, typical Ducati sound that you're going to be looking at. It sounds good. At the same time, it's going to sound even better when you're really ripping on it. Now we have, for the purpose of this video, warmed up the bike, so I'm not just revving on a cold engine. Those pops, man, definitely juicy. The other thing that we're going to talk about here today, because there's not a whole lot left that we're going to go over, is this the suspension on the bike. It's going to be fully adjustable, which is going to be really nice. You can actually go through, adjust the suspension for yourself, while at the same time, if for any reason you found that between the standard and the S model that you'd be looking to do the suspension, they do offer another model other than this standard here. It's called the 1260S. Got a couple different colors available for that. Basically, what's going to be different with the S is it's going to have the Öhlins suspension, a slightly higher level of brake caliper actually on the bike. It's going to come with the quick shifter, a slightly different seat, some different wheels, a little bit of a custom design, as well as it's also going to have the Ducati multimedia system, which is going to be something that's going to allow you to pair up with you pair your phone and helmet with your bike itself so that you can use kind of a hands-free integration between the two. Other than that, last thing, we're going to be looking at the brakes on the bike. So in the rear, you definitely have a really large rear tire. They wanted to fit you with a pretty sizable rear caliper and rear rotor. So on the rotor itself, it's actually going to be a 200 by 65, and you got quite the caliper punching with that. As always, it's going to be a Brembo, a little bit of a higher caliper. I want to say it's the M4 if I'm not mistaken. Then up in the front, we're going to have plenty of stopping power as well. We're going to have 2 320 millimeter discs, powered by Brembos, of course, again, all functioning with ABS. We're actually going to turn this bike on one more time, just because I want to showcase the front turn signals. So they've actually done a really good job integrating the turn signals in the front to the bike. They just have that nice, clean, flush look. anyone that you might end up behind when you're using those turn signals would have a hard time saying that they didn't see such quite a big light. That's almost the same magnitude as a car, if I'm not mistaken. But other than that, I'm gonna throw Avionics here the key. We're gonna go and have ourselves a good ride. Thanks for joining us today, guys.
So I had some technical issues with my audio in the post-test ride video clip, so now we're back in the avionics studio to finish up. So upon returning to the dealership, the Diavel was just as, if not more comfortable than test riding the Monster 821, as you can see in this video up here. The posture and seat height is very reminiscent of my 2016 Harley-Davidson 48 Sportster 1200 with a seat height of just below 31 inches. Just the feet position on the Diavel is more or less straight below the very comfortable seat. The power of this Diavel is anything else you'd expect out of a Ducati, just in the form of a street, almost cruiser style motorcycle. I didn't test it out on our short test ride around the loop, but among all the features the Diavel has, the cruise control feature is my favorite on this bike as it's basically designed for the long, comfortable road trip style, coupled with the 4.5 gallon fuel tank. The Diavel weighs in at 481 pounds dry and 538 pounds wet. But yeah, I can definitely see the Diavel being a daily driver for me. And that pretty much wraps up this video, guys. If you enjoyed watching this video, go ahead and please hit that like button as it helps YouTube recommend my video out. Leave any comments and questions down below, as usual, and please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that notifications bell so you can be notified of future content like this. Alright guys, see you next time.
Can you not be there, buddy? No, yeah. Go smoke your shit in the back. Get the fuck out of here. You're gonna fuck me up, dude. I don't need you lurking over me. Sorry.